fixer.
We'll give it away.
Oh, you're the Geico Gecko! I filed a claim for my car with the Geico app. Only took...
Hello, I'm a wonderful broskies, another one for Maverick Nation. And welcome to a new segment of mine, Dragon What If. I wanted to do this with my glasses and my hat, but I cannot find my glasses. If you're wondering what the hell is going on, well, Dragon What If is basically if I have an idea that involves anything Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball GT, Dragon Ball Super, Dragon Ball whatever the hell, yeah, I can basically make a what if of it and add it on to Dragon What If. My first of that will be well, I'm pretty sure a lot of you Dragon Ball aficionados know about the Ginyu Force, Totozenkai, Totozenkai. And my favorite member out of all those guys is Jeice. Hey, he's red. Red's my favorite color. So, seeing as I'm a big fan, I'm like, how exactly could I do this? What if Jeice was good? Yeah. Spitfire. And I'm gonna start it crazy. Since you know me, guys, I'm always good at one-upping you. So I'm gonna start it crazy. I'm gonna start it basically whenever they made the wish to bring back everyone who was killed by Frieza, Vegeta, whoever the hell. Technically, Vegeta killed, Jeice, so he would be alive if everyone that Vegeta killed was alive. And technically, seeing as even though Vegeta and Frieza weren't friends, Vegeta was still part of the genociding on Namek. May have not have been on Frieza's side, but he still did some genociding. So, yeah. Basically, right as Frieza is telling Goku about his 5 seconds, 5 minutes, whatever the hell, of doom, Jeice would just boop, just pop out of nowhere and just be like, where the hell? He wouldn't even know where he was because whenever he was on planet Namek, it wasn't exploding to death. So he would not find it very familiar. And then he would finally realize, wait, that's Lord Frieza. But he doesn't look so Lord Frieza as Lord Frieza's supposed to look like. Like, he can somewhat tell that it's Lord Frieza, but he can somewhat not tell. It's like, Oh, so what the captain said about him possibly being able to turn forms is true. Oh. I'm just gonna put in there that Ginyu did one time tell the Ginyu Force, seeing as they're a force, that about that whole thing about, Frieza having more than one form. And so Jeice would be like, oh, so this must be one of his forms. Ah, then who's the golden guy? Well, there was that one thing going around about some sort of Super Saiyan. That guy must be the Super Saiyan. Well, shit. Because he's like, if he's the Super Saiyan, we're all fucked. That is unless I pull a catch-22 on the side of all sides. So basically the ultimate catch-22 that's not a catch-22. So basically, after, Frieza is given the energy by Goku, after he splits himself with his own damn attack. Dumbass. And Frieza just fires it back at him, and Goku's like, you fool! Basically, Jeice, unlike Goku, knows that didn't kill Frieza because of the time in the Force. He knows how much of a son of a bitch that Frieza is, without even having to fight him. That guy has freaking aura. They don't even have to be able to sense energy in order to tell how bad mofo Frieza is. So, yeah. Jeice already knows that didn't kill Frieza. Plus, the dude can breathe in space. So even if he was in a bunch of pieces, he can still breathe in space. So unless you incinerated his lungs, I don't think you're gonna kill him. Or his brain, or his heart. But yeah, unless you kill all that, you're not killing him. He's a resilient motherfudger. And Jeice knows this from being around the captain a good amount. Being around the Force. Toto Zenkai, Toto Zenkai. I think that's how you say it. Anyways, so yeah, he knows that, these quote-unquote good guys didn't technically kill Frieza. And if there's anything about Frieza planet or Cold Planet technology, King Cold is probably just gonna find this and be like, these monkeys, they need to be blah 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 blah. Yeah, so they might have just put each other in even hotter water. And so Jeice is basically like, I'm just gonna mediate around this. So basically he's playing the road of least resistance for now. Yes. And I'm going to say that since Planet Namek and Planet Earth also have, freaking Dragon Balls, why not Planet Yardrat? Why don't they have Dragon Balls? So I'm gonna say that Jeice did grab his own pod and, just started tailing Goku, seeing as he's too battered to sense for energy. he wouldn't know that Jeice is tailing him. He's only like half unconscious or completely unconscious. So he wouldn't know to sense for energies, or he wouldn't be able to sense for energies. So he wouldn't know that he's being tailed by Jeice, who is now alive. And then Jeice would think, as he's tailing Goku, wait, wouldn't the other members of the Force be alive? Well, fuck. So, now that's a whole nother problem. Jeice just aborted ship without even thinking about that. But then again, he was scared half to death. So it didn't exactly lead to the best of decision making. Or did it? Dun dun dun. And about that whole thing with Planet Yartrat and, well, Jesus. Whenever they do get to Yardrat, Jeice starts sweet-talking the locals and actually gets to see the Dragon Balls that they have there. I'm headcanoning that shit. And seeing as Goku's still in the middle of recovery, he would not still be very good at sensing. So he wouldn't even know that the sky is turning dark. And since Jeice is so far away, he wouldn't even be able to hear the dragon say, "I am the eternal dragon." He wouldn't be able to hear or notice that. And so Jeice would have to basically, like, I'm going to basically be like, it's like stronger than Earth's, but weaker than Namek's. So only 2 wishes. Well, Earth's eventually got to 2 wishes, but it's not that point in the story yet. So, 2 wishes. And what Jeice decides to wish first, now that he's getting his mind more collected back together, and a better state than he was before, he actually has to think about what exactly he wants to wish for. He knows that trying to wish for immortality would be stupid, because somebody would know that something was up. And even if he was immortal, they could still make him go through a lot of pain, if they got to that point. So Jeice has to carefully navigate the rules of the wishes of the Dragon Balls. And he's thinking and thinking and thinking. he actually came up with a pretty ingenious idea. At least what he thinks is a pretty ingenious idea. Seeing as, the whole thing with Scouters, they aren't exactly ironclad. They are infallible. They can be messed with. Just like the Ginyu Scouters can be messed with, seeing as they're basically the same model, but just with a pretty redesign. He knows that the Scouters are infallible, so he knows that they aren't going to be something that's foolproof. And that gives him a little bit of wiggle room. And so he decides that he wants to hold one wish out of the two wishes for a later date. That he'll come back to Yardrat sometime later, and he'll have that second wish ready. And so he negotiates with the dragon that whenever he has time for the second wish, he will come back to Yardrat and do that. But his first wish is in order to get, the Genyus off his trail, because he probably already looks shady enough as it is. He wants a way to get the Genyus off his trail. So he already knows that destroying his scouter looked pretty sus. So he has to make a way to make sure he has them off his trail. And the way that is, Jeice is really thinking hard of what would be a good way to get them off his tail. And he figures the perfect way is to go to the planet of the person he's currently with. Planet Earth. And so eventually, whenever Goku heals and he's trained, and, two pods actually land, and Trunks is freaking out because, only one was supposed to land. What the fuck? And it shows that Jeice is in the second pod. And Jeice is just like, guys, chill. Because he didn't wish to be brought back to Earth with Goku. He wished to be brought back sooner. Somewhere else. Where? The sacred land of Korin. Yeah, that's right. They wouldn't know a damn thing about the Ginyu Force. And so, he just decides to legit go up the same way as everybody else. Doesn't decide to fly up there. He goes all the way up Korin Tower, and since he has such a high power level, he doesn't have a problem. And he gets all the way up to Korin Tower, and he's just like, what, you're a cat? And Korin is like, something inside your soul, something tells me it's changing. I don't know if this is the right thing to do, but here, take it. And Korin gives Jeice the Ultra Divine Water. And Jeice decides to drink it. And upon drinking it, ta-da! He is now twice the strength of Captain Ginyu. 120,000, that would make him 140,000. That's right. Instead of being Captain Ginyu's power level of 120,000, he now has a power level of 140,000. It's not as strong as Goku, but it's definitely a lot stronger than his own, previous captain of the Ginyu Force, Totozen Kai. Am I even saying it right? Besides, he basically tells Korin right to his face that he's renounced himself from the Force because he knows that now that he's officially done all this shady shit, nothing good will come from it. And plus, Frieza's not really dead, but he is not really that much of a big problem after he heard, what he had heard. Well, what little he had heard. Now there are bigger fish to fry. Not automatically, but soon there will be. And so, eventually, whenever it is the time of the androids, and Vegeta just kicks the shit out of Android 19 after Goku has the heart virus. Jeice is just slinking around still, and whenever Vegeta sees Jeice, the guy that he previously killed on Namek, he's just like, "Oh, you want to go for round 2, bitch?" And Jeice is like, "No, I've been training and I am a lot stronger. Instead of being 140,000, I have said over the power level of, that felt good on my neck. Jeice is like, that felt good on my neck." He's just not even paying attention to Super Saiyan Vegeta. And that's pissing him off. And Jeice does not give a fuck. Jeice is just like, "You, Jiro, come here. Or are you afraid?" But Jiro, being a dumbass, thinking that, this guy's all the way back, from whenever they were barely Super Saiyan. And, even though 19's down, I can kick his ass. Actually, he's sorely mistaken. Because now Jeice has been training so much at the lookout. Yeah, he actually made it to the lookout. Climbing up the power pole that was there connecting the, Korin Tower to the lookout. He just got all the way up there and made it to the lookout and did some training there and decided basically to finish off everything. And now he officially has a power level of, it may not be Super Saiyan, but it's pretty close. Super Saiyan Goku. But it's pretty close. 200 million. Or not. Actually, Super Saiyan was 3 million. Or 300. It's just really close to Super Saiyan Goku, but not enough. It's not close enough. But it is pretty close. And it's pretty dangerous to Jiro, seeing as he is not prepared for that. And Jiro is just shitting his pants, if he could shit his pants. Where he's like, "What the fuck?" And, Jeice is flexing his muscles and it's like, "Fireball!" Boom! And just boom! Right into Jiro's face. And instead of 17 knocking his head off, it just gets exploded. And instead of Vegeta being a dumbass, Jeice just rips the door off its hinges and, enters. But it seems that, as a precaution, Jiro has already used the remote to activate 17 and 18. But, seeing as he's no longer alive, 17 and 18 have decided, well, more or less 17 than 18.
What, another day of disappointment?
What do you mean?
I heard you said that down the grapevine. What's disappointing about it?
Technical difficulties. Anyways. So yeah, basically, Jeice is just sees the fact that, just 17, 18, and 16 are all out there. They're all stronger than him. And Vegeta is now just getting his ass kicked by 18 because of his trash mouth. Both of his arms are broken, and Jeice has to fly him back while listening to his trash mouth. He's like, I don't need your help. And Jeice is like, well, actually, you do. And don't worry, Jeice is just loving it. Because, Jeice got killed by Vegeta at Planet Namek. And so, yeah, this is perfect revenge. But now there's this talk of something absorbing entire towns, like Nicky Town. And making everything seem like a damn slasher movie. And then there's a scene with Piccolo fighting First Form Cell. And then the scene where Piccolo just rips off his damn arm and then it grows back. Only unlike Cell, he doesn't get stronger. Cell only gets stronger after that because of his Saiyan DNA. Which is stupid because of the fact that that's not how Zenkai boosts work. They don't work after self-inflicted injury. They work after an injury inflicted by something else. Or someone else. Then again, that's probably the least of the plot holes in the entirety of Dragon Ball. It's just the fact that Toriyama seems to like to put his foot in his own mouth long before the days of Dragon Ball Super, whenever Toyotaru was dragging the man's name in the mud. Anyways, after all that BS, it's like everybody can feel their energies in just this one being, except for Jeice, because none of that data was gotten from Namek, so logically that wouldn't be happening to Jeice. And even though, Cell would get 17 because of the fact... Actually, no, he wouldn't get 17. At least not the way he did get 17. Because unlike 16, who decided to rip off the tail in the original, Jeice decides to literally, like the fucking, fourth Raikage, lariat clothesline the head off of Second Form Cell. With a freaking crusher fireball in hand, he literally calls the attack Lariat Fireball and just freaking offs the head of Second Form Cell. And seeing as, the neck is no longer connected to the nucleus, the head is alive, but nothing else is. And 16 gets rid of that using his Hell Flash. Or just a Rocket Punch. Just Rocket Punches the head in the mouth and goes kabooey. And then they have to realize the fact that there's future Trunks and Krillin in the laboratory of the other Cell. The one that won't wake up until freaking 17 years? now we just have the point where, it's just Future Trunks going back to his timeline after the other cell was destroyed and killing the cell there after getting rid of 17 and 18 there. So yeah. And seeing as 18 never got absorbed, Krillin and 18 still get together. And Jeice even decides to use his second wish to, in good sportsmanship, seeing as 16 never died, bring back 17. And, seeing as 17 and 18, seeing as 16 was, the robotic clone of, Jiro's freaking son, basically, 16 was the robotic clone of Jiro's son. Basically, 17 and 18, they're more victims than anything else, so just decided to do something for them by bringing back 17, using his leftover wish, and the Earth Shatter and Dragon Balls that I just now made canon. Head canon, more like it. And now, 7 years later, Goku really hasn't died. It just left more room for him to train and be with family, but mostly train. And Jeice has even gotten stronger because he doesn't really have much to, do in terms of family. Well, psyched, since technically he did, in the 7 years, he did get himself a family. With Launch. If it's not Raditz with Launch, Moscow X, it's Jeice with Launch in this What If. That's right. Blue-haired Launch was getting the tough treatment, seeing as they all know that she has the ability to sneeze and change personalities. So they were basically giving blue-haired Launch a hard time, and Jeice decided to stick up for her, even whenever she turns blonde-haired. It seems like Jeice is the only one who can deal with that shit. Because, Space Australia, Space Brisbane, just with that, deal with that shit. Whenever you're from freaking Space Australia, Australia on Earth basically has every animal ever that's freaking tries to kill you. So I would think someone from the space equivalent of Australia, making it Space Australia would make it even worse. So yeah, Jeice, after a bunch of training, will be a tough mother fudger. And know how to deal with blonde-haired Launch. And blue-haired Launch. But he doesn't really distinguish anything between those two. Because he thinks them as the singular personality, the singular person. Just because they change doesn't mean they're not the same person. Jeice just felt that would be wrong. And because of that, either form still does care about Jeice a lot. Launch actually likes Jeice a lot in either form. Depending on either form, regardless of either form, they still do care a lot about Jeice. And Jeice cares a lot about them. And after 7 years of peace, came the Majin Buu catastrophe. Or would it? Because, seeing as launch will be more relevant in the plot, and of her little anger and mood swings, Bobbity might confuse the anger mood swings for evil in their heart. And so he would try to possess Launch for some fucking reason. I guess, he thinks that Jeice is strong, and if he's able to bend Jeice to his will, using Launch for whatever fucking reason, he's apparently really strong, and he's going into this, Tenkaichi Budokai, whatever. So Bobbity wants to control that shit. So I guess he would try to do that. Bobbity, you were an idiot. He would be like, papa da papa. Only another thing that Jeice had been doing through the 7 years, with the help of Launch, is find the other members of the Ginyu Force that aren't Captain Ginyu, because Captain Ginyu would be along with Frieza. And that would not be something that Jeice would want. And basically it would be like a freaking revolutionary thing against Ginyu. And they would become their own force, the Hikari Force. The Light Force. Toto Zenkai, Toto Zenkai. Anyways, as soon as Jeice figured out about what Bobbity was trying to fucking do, he would be pissed. And just like Nam versus Ranfan in Dragon Ball, he would just go for the neck chop, and so not much energy could be gotten from Majin Buu, and just knock his waifu out for the count. And then he would be like, the rest of the team, go, because technically, seeing as he's gotten all the power boost even before the 7-year time skip started, and he's even gotten stronger through the 7-year time skip, he would be the strongest one. Even if they still had Captain Ginyu there, he would technically still be the strongest one. Because he's stronger than Ginyu. Because, he's stronger than 140,000, and Genyu's power level is 120,000. I'm pretty sure he would be stronger than Super Saiyan in the Namek Saga, so that would be 300 million, and so twice 300 million would be 600 million. And that wouldn't be enough for Jeice, so he would continue this training regimen until he had made it strong enough to where he was continuing with the rest of the Z Warriors. Until he was basically like Captain Ginyu. Instead of 120,000, it would be 120 billion. Yeah, people like Z Warriors right now, if they're Saiyans, they're probably in the billions. So he decided that he would basically contend until he was that strong. His power level right now is 120 billion. And so that's why just a simple neck chop was able to knock out his waifu. But don't worry, this isn't abuse, this is just trying to keep the end of the world from happening. But because of some crazy shit with Vegeta still happening, and him still having to atone, the end of Vegeta's life yet again, but Jeice being cool like that, well, you know, he would be like, you know, get a new ruler in Dende, all the way from planet Namek, all the way to Earth, just like in the real story. And so, Earth's Dragon Balls would actually be able to grant 2 wishes now. And the first wish would be able to grant back the life of every good person. And seeing as in canon, and you know, Vegeta was brought back whenever it was every good person being brought back, I'm not going to change that. So he will be brought back. Yay for Vegeta fans. Rejoice. And with his second wish, Jeice would basically be like, seeing as he realized that little Fat Boo was basically like, this guy isn't half bad. It's just he has his priorities mixed up. And so he would, you know, be like, you know, Boo shouldn't be destroyed. He just, you know, has to have his priorities straight. And so the people's memories are kind of messed with, just like in canon. And Boo is allowed to be a cast in the story. And this little end of Z portion, you know, the entire Dragon Ball Z portion, was just part 1 of What If Jeice Was Good. Because I do plan on continuing this, only I'm not going to do a What If Jeice Was Good Daima edition after I do the super part, because fuck Daima. After that, I'm gonna do some time travel thing like Doctor Fucking Who, because I want to see what it would be like if Jeice was in Dragon Ball, like OG Dragon Ball. That would be fucking awesome. So yeah, you can tell he's one of my fave characters in the entirety of Dragon Ball. And he's my favorite member of the Ginyu Force. Toto Zenkai, Toto Zenkai, Toto Zenkai. Like a boss.